Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and this video is a complete Google Keep tutorial for beginners. Google Keep is one of the best note-taking software on the market, and in this video, I will be showing you how to use this tool. From creating notes, adding reminders, sharing notes with other people, and keeping your dashboard free of clutter, this video is going to show you everything that you need to know about Google Keep. Once you load into Google Keep, it's going to take you over to a screen that looks like this. The first point that I want to touch on is you can customize the look and the view of this between light mode and dark mode, depending on which one you prefer, by going up to this settings icon in the top right corner. And then I can either disable the dark theme if I want to get back to this light theme, or I can go up and enable the dark theme, and that's going to switch this back to the dark theme. Next, let's go ahead and create a note. To create a note, we just go up to this bar at the top that says take a note. Click into this, and now we can start creating our note. In here, I can enter in the title of this note, as well as the actual note that I'm going to write under here. I'm just going to create an example note. So for the title, I will call this Google Keep Tutorial. And then for the note, we can enter whatever we want here. And this can essentially be as long as you want to make it. So I entered in my note right here. And then you will notice there's not exactly like a save button or something that you would expect to click here. So instead, all we have to do is click anywhere outside of the note, and just like that, this note is going to be saved. Perfect. We now have our first note right here. However, that is just scratching on the surface of all of the features that we have with Google Keep. Because in here, you will notice as soon as we go to take a note, we have all of these features along the bottom. So let's go ahead and explore these. First of all, we can go ahead and set a reminder. So if I wanted to remind myself of something, let's say I have a sales call at 9 o'clock tomorrow. I could go into the title and let's just call this sales call. And then in the note, I can say sales call with Tom. Once we have that set up, we can then go into the remind me area. And in here, we can set a reminder. So by default, we are going to be given a few options. So we can see later today at 8 PM, tomorrow at 8 AM, or next week. However, we don't want any of these options. So instead, we can go down to pick a date and time. And in here, we can set this exact reminder. So this call is at 9 AM tomorrow. I'm going to go into the calendar right here, and then we can select tomorrow's date. We can then select the time that we want this reminder to be for. So I will go custom. And actually, if the meeting is at 9 AM, I want to be reminded a little bit before. So I'm going to remind myself at 8:45. We can type that in right there. And then we can also choose if this reminder repeats. So if this is something that happens every week or every 2 weeks, we can go in and select how often this repeats. Once that is set up and you have your reminder, we can click on save, and then we can click out to complete this note. And just like that, we now have this sales call with Tom. We are going to get a reminder tomorrow at 8:45 AM. You will also notice that on this left-hand panel, we have this section that says reminders. If we click into here, it's only going to show us notes that we have set a reminder for. So I could create another note right here. I want to remember to walk my dog. So I'll say take my dog for a walk, and let's go into pick a date and time. I'm going to set this to today. Let's then go in and set the time to 5 PM right here. And then we can click on save, exit out of this note. This note is now created. And if I go into reminders, this is going to show me all of the notes that I have set a reminder for. Now let's go back into notes because there are a few other features that we have in this top bar. The next of which is a collaborator. So with the collaborator, we can actually share notes with other people. They will be able to see this on their Google Keep. And this is an awesome feature if you want to remind somebody of something or you want them to keep something in mind. So in this example, let's say I have a hotel booked at the weekend with my wife. In here, I'm going to title this Miami Hotel Booking. And then we can create a note right here and we will just say romantic weekend away. In this note, we can then go to the bottom and select a collaborator. And in here, we can enter in the email address of the person that we would like to share this note with. So we can enter that email in right there, click on save, and then we can see this collaborator has now been added to this note. So once again, let's back out, and that note has now been created. To show you how this looks on the other person's end, I'm going to go into the Google Keep account of the person I collaborated with. So I'm going to go up here, enter into that Google account. And right here, we can see this is what the note is going to look like. We can see this was shared from and who shared this note. I can then click in and see the note right here. Now I can even make any changes. I can say anything that I want to in this note. and that note is going to be added to the other person's Google Keep. The next thing along that we have is just some background options. So this is how you can really customize your notes and take how your Google Keep looks to the next level. I want to start cooking, but I haven't got around to it yet. So in here, I'm going to set a note to myself and say, learn to cook. And in here, I'm going to remind myself to start a cooking class by the end of July. Down here, I can then go in and add a background option. So I can click in and choose between any of these colors right here. So if I was to set it to one of these colors, then this is how the note is going to look. Or alternatively, we have kind of like these cool photo options that Google is going to provide. This one definitely fits. So I'm going to enter this in, back out of the note, and that note is now going to be saved. We can also create a note with an image. If we open the note back up, we can click on add image right here, and we can add an image to this note. I want to create a Notion tutorial on my YouTube channel, and I actually have a Notion image right here. So let's select this image, and this is now going to be added into the note. So we can see the image, we can then go down and add a title. So I will title this Notion tutorial, and then say record Notion tutorial. And then down here at the bottom, we can actually start adding things together because I want to remind myself of this. So I'm going to go down, let's say pick a date and time. And in here, I'm going to set this to Tuesday at 2 p.m. I can then click on save, back out, and that note is now going to be added. Right now, my Google Keep dashboard is already starting to get a little bit cluttered. One thing that can help with this is adding labels when we create notes. So if I wanted to create a new note right here, what I can do is go to these three dots and then add a label to this. So if I create another note right here, and I said that this time we have a sales call with Jim, once we have that note written out, we can go down to these three dots and we can actually add a label to this note. So if I go for add label, maybe I want to label this with work and have all of my work items in one area. I can label this with work right here, exit out, and this is now going to be labeled with work. You will also notice that when we create a new label, it is going to add the label to this left-hand control panel. So I can now click into my work label and see only notes that I have labeled as work. So once again, we can go from having a completely cluttered area right here of all of these different notes to going into certain labels that we want to access. And that's going to really narrow it down and really filter out the clutter. In this area of these three dots, not only can we add a label, but we can also add a drawing to this note. So we can go in and start drawing something right here. We have all of these different tools. We have a pen, we have a marker, and we have a highlighter. And in here, we can customize them between the thickness, the color of this, and everything that we need. So I want a relatively thick blue line. I'm going to select that right there. And then we can go ahead and start drawing things out. So I'm just going to draw a nice little smiley face. Once you have finished with your drawing, we can then back out. And as you can see, this is now going to be added in. So we can add a title to this note. And I'm going to remind myself to always be happy. And then we can add a note right here. I'm just going to make this a silly note. We can add that in, and that note is now going to be added. The final thing that we can do, and this is very important in this top section, is we can go ahead and add in checkboxes. So this is fantastic if you want to create a to-do list or something along those lines. So we can go up here and we can call this to-do list. Then we can go into list items and start adding things in here. So I'm going to say eat breakfast. Then we can go down and record YouTube video, walk the dog. We can add items in there. And then once we are finished with this, we can back out and that note is going to be added. So now as I go throughout my day, I can come in here, check off these boxes, and just like that, I completed my to-do list. Once your notes have been created, we can also go back in and add different features to them. So for example, with this to-do list, let me just uncheck all of these. If I hover over this, you can see we have all of the same buttons that we had when we were going to take a note. So I can go into my to-do list and we can add a background in here. Let's make this nice and red. I also have a sales call with Tom. I definitely want to tag this with work. So I can go into this section, go to these three dots, and then add a label. And then I'm going to tag this with work. Now this is added into work. And if I go over to the work section, I can see all of my sales calls right here. I'm going to create a second label right here, and I'm going to call this leisure. So we can go more, add a label, and then in here we can call this leisure. So we can create leisure right here, and that's now added, showing up along the side. And then I also want to add my Miami hotel booking to this leisure section. So add a label, leisure, and perfect. Now I can go in and sort my notes at a glance, and I can see exactly what I need to see without seeing all of the other notes that are going to get in the way. Another very important thing that we can do with notes is we can pin particular notes. So if I want to pin this Miami hotel booking, I can click on this pin icon and it's going to show up in this pinned bar at the top. So we have pinned and others, and anything that is pinned is going to show up right at the top here. So you can pin all of your most important notes to the top. With created notes, we can also go ahead and delete them. So let's say I want to delete this note right here. I can hover over this note, click on these three dots, and then right here, we can go to delete note. So I can click on delete, and that note is now deleted. This note is going to show up in trash right here. And I can either go in, if I accidentally deleted this note, I can click on restore, and this is now going to be back in my notes area. Or alternatively, I can go in and delete this entirely. So we can click on delete forever. And then if you have a bunch of random notes like you can see on my screen, we can empty the trash to bulk delete them just like that. Finally, if we go back to notes, if we have a lot of notes here, we can search for specific notes using this top bar. Let's say that I am looking for my Notion note, but this is a lot bigger and I can't see this. Well, I could just go to this top search bar, search for Notion right here, and just like that, my Notion note is going to pop up. So I can click on this, I can see the note, and I can do anything that I need to in this area. So that is my complete Google Keep tutorial. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.